You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Tuesday, October 15th. We are now about 5 days removed from the 49ers win against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, and 49K is back. Sorry I couldn't do a post-game on Thursdays. Some of you may know I was traveling out of town. In fact, I got to see the very end of the game as the wheels were up, taking off. Yeah, I was that person that did not go into airplane mode when I was told I had to see it through, but it did not impact the plane at all. And once I saw Isaac Guerrero get that big run at the end, I was like, okay, all right, I can turn this off now, and I can, be on this flight peacefully. But anyway, you guys may notice no Weston here today. This was supposed to be our Player of the Week episode with him, rescheduled to Tuesday because I did fly out yesterday night. And so the thing with him, he got caught in a windstorm back home, so his power is out. So hopefully Weston is all right. Hopefully he's making do out there. He said he was running on his generator earlier, so hopefully he got some power back. And if he didn't, hopefully he does get some power back soon. But yeah, it's just you and me guys today. And so live chat, I'm going to ask you guys that you keep it popping so I'm not just talking to myself. Keep the conversation going in the live chat. And I also want to, before I go any further, last episode, my preview episode with KP, I realized that my internet was not the greatest. I want to apologize for that. If I do have any issues with that today, I do apologize as well. In a new apartment, I do have new internet, but this office is like the furthest from the modem. So hoping to get some cables so I can just hardwire it in and don't have to deal with the Wi-Fi anymore. But anyway, sorry for, talking way too much, but glad that you guys are here. The live chat is already popping. I didn't even have to ask you guys, so thanks for that. And as always, we're still going to get into talking about this game from Thursday since I didn't get a chance to talk about it with you guys. And going to be doing the Player of the Week, giving my nominees. Should have asked Weston what his nominees were, and I could have maybe had those in there for us. But in the meantime, yeah, I'll be giving my nominees. And before I do that, I just want to get my big takeaways from this game, right? So I think the 49ers clearly still struggling in the red zone. That continues to be an issue for them, right? I think they're showing some signs of improvement, while the percentage of, the touchdown rate to red zone trips still not as good as you would want it. I think there's a concerted effort to get George Kittle involved in the red zone, and I think it's working for them. So I want to continue to see that, and I would also love for them to use, Brandon Ayuk more in the red zone as well. I felt like he could have had a touchdown on a play that ended up being an incompletion. He had a similar play where it was an out to that front right corner of the end zone. But Brock Purdy was looking the other way instead. And then, like I said, it ended up being an incompletion. I'm pretty sure they didn't end up scoring on that drive. But if Brandon Ayuk maybe was a little bit ahead in the progressions, particularly in the red zone, I don't think it'd be that bad of an idea. Clearly, it's already working with George Kittle, so maybe opening some things up a little bit. But KP, who I do my preview shows with on Fridays, he actually put out a great video. I believe he put it out today on his YouTube, so go look that up, Kyle Posey on YouTube, talking about the 49ers issues in the red zone and, why he thinks they're fixable issues, right? And they're kind of like a bunch of small things that have kind of led to the big thing, right, of the 49ers struggling there. but definitely fixable. So it did kind of help give me some hope. They just got to clean some things up, and hopefully they can do that. I feel like this game coming up against the Chiefs, coming off a mini bye that the 49ers just had, that's a good opportunity to hone in on red zone and, try to improve there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't impact the 49ers in this game against Seattle, their red zone woes. The reason for that is because they finished. I think that's kind of been a theme with the 49ers, that they weren't finishing games. And I think in this one against the Seahawks, we saw it get really close to not finishing, right? Like we saw this game get a lot closer than it needed to, mostly because of the special teams flub that kind of gave all the momentum to Seattle when they frankly didn't really have any. So after that, it kind of became a close game. So it really depended on the offense and the defense being able to put some things together to help finish this game. And I thought both sides, really came together to do that, especially the defense, especially the young players of this team. So I was really encouraged by that as well, because the 49ers, of course, dealing with some injuries, added some new ones on Thursday, but some guys have been stepping up, and that's all you can ask for. I think I'm very happy with what I've seen from the young players, and they don't look scared, right? Like they look like they're relishing every opportunity that they get. That's exactly the kind of juice that the 49ers need in certain positions. And look, maybe not all of them are going to be able to hold their weight for the rest of the season, right? But I expect that they would continue to improve with each game. So even if you're staying above water, if staying afloat, like that's all that matters for this team. They're doing that with some of these reserve guys, with some of these young players. So I think that's all you can ask for. I mean, I think it wasn't like the Patriots win where it was against a bad team. So, you didn't really know what to do with that win. Like you didn't know if you should be too excited about it. But we know this game against the Seahawks was huge for a variety of reasons. For one, it was a game in Seattle. We know how tough that can be. The Seahawks are 3-2. So while they had lost their previous two going into that game against the 49ers, they had a winning record. But knowing what was at stake for the 49ers, knowing that you had to win this game, knowing that if you won this game, you would catapult to the top of the NFC West. I mean, it was huge. So in many ways, this win, while it wasn't the prettiest, while things still aren't perfect, and while a lot of things still need to get dialed in, I think it did teach me a lot. Definitely way more than I learned against the Patriots game. So I think this is really good momentum. I think especially with this bye week, this mini bye week that they got, they have a chance to get a little bit healthier and kind of key in on some of the things that aren't quite cleaned up yet. And boy, do they need that going into this week 7 game against the Chiefs. This is another big one, as we know. But let me go ahead and get into my nominees for 49K Player of the Week. And I'm going to start with Nick Bosa. I want to start with Nick Bosa because, look, he had 14 pressures, the most of any player on the team by a pretty, wide margin. And I know he didn't have any sacks in this game, but you can argue that some of his pressures are just as timely and just as, if not more, impactful than a sack would be. Because, and I'm just using this game as an example, right? But I could probably go back and think of a few others. In this game against Seattle, his pressure contributed to that turnover. The one that Malik Mustafa got, the interception, because Geno Smith felt that pressure from Nick Bosa, probably got that ball off a little earlier than he would have liked, threw it inaccurately over the top of his receiver into Malik Mustafa's arms. So I give some credit to Nick Bosa on that one, for making that happen or helping that happen, right, with his pressure. So this is why I ask people to not get so hung up on the lack of stats for a player, because we know he's making an impact in other ways. And like I said, sometimes forcing a pick in that fashion with your pressure is better than a sack. The drive ends right there when there's a turnover. So I definitely would have preferred that. Not only does the drive end, but you get the ball back as well. So I had to give some kudos to Nick Bosa for how impactful he was in this game, beyond the stat sheet. And I also noticed that when the game got close, especially in one of the final drives that the Seahawks had, um, I think you could feel the urgency, right? As a viewer, we're all stressed out about the fact that this game felt like every other game that the 49ers had. Like, oh my God, they're letting another team back in the game. And it almost felt like watching, like, come on, like, do something, defense. Like, please, like, get us out of this. And I could just see Nick Bosa turn it up. And that's hard to do, like, late in games, right? When, especially on the road, you're playing a full game, like fourth quarter, to turn it up a notch, because the stakes of this game. I mean, I'd say that's pretty difficult to get into that another gear when you're tired and all that. And I could see it in Nick Bosa. Like, he was trying. He wasn't going to be denied, whether it was to get a pressure or to get a sack. He didn't get a sack, but he definitely got those pressures. So, yeah, I noticed that, right? I noticed Nick Bosa, doing everything he could. And that's the type of effort I appreciate from any player. So he's my nominee, one of my nominees for this week. Now, my second nominee is going to be a pretty obvious one. So, Brock Purdy. Man, Brock Purdy 4-0 against the Seattle Seahawks. And it is crazy, because I think we come from a time where 49er quarterbacks, 49er teams would just be absolutely shook to play the Seahawks, to play in Seattle. And sure, maybe Seattle doesn't have that same, like, 12th man like they used to. They're still very loud, but it's just not what it used to be. Even still, I think it's super impressive, and it's like we're living out a dream to know that we're on the winning side of things against this team. Yeah, 5-0 if you count the playoff games. Thank you, TB. But yeah, so 5-0 against the Seahawks in this game on Thursday. Like we said, big stakes kind of game. He was 18 of 28, 255 yards, 9.1 yards per reception. Still big play hunting, my guy. 3 touchdowns, 129.3 passer rating. I mean, that's just the type of performance that anyone would have hoped from Brock Purdy. He also had 19 rushing yards in this game. And he continues to help this offense out. Like, he continues to raise the ceiling of this offense in his own way, extend plays. Nothing's there. He's going to create things for himself and create things for this offense. So, like I said, I think the offense as a whole still could dial some things in, but I think I think we all could appreciate what Brock Purdy's doing, because he looked great on Thursday. And man, I mean, this was the same coach who seemingly had him figured out when the 49ers played the Ravens last season, right? Mike McDonald, now the Seahawks head coach. Well, Mike, it's going to take you some time to maybe try to build up to be the same type of personnel that you had in Baltimore, because Purdy carved you guys up like a pumpkin. It is Brocktober, so definitely needed to see a better performance from Brock, given how he looked against the Cardinals, right? And I think he did that against the Seahawks. Very, very pleased with Brock Purdy's performance. Now, the other nominee that I'm going to give, George Kittle. 58 receiving yards. That's nothing to write home about, nothing crazy. But 2 touchdowns. And I was just talking about it, right? The 49ers have been having issues in the red zone. George Kittle, not one of those issues. I mean, he's been so far one of the answers that the 49ers have had in the red zone. And it's been working out for them. 4 straight games for Kittle with at least a touchdown, 2 on Thursday. So, man, if they didn't have him, they'd be down bad in the red zone. So Kittle at least has kind of been their saving grace there right now. Like I said, I want to see more guys involved, but having Kittle involved and having him deliver in the red zone has been great. And just since I was just speaking about Brock Purdy and George Kittle, Brock Purdy's throw outside the numbers, that front right corner of the end zone, that's a very difficult throw. It's a very difficult throw to make. And also credit to Kittle for getting both feet down, because for some guys that's difficult to make that play inbounds, right? So just an awesome connection between those two on that play. It was probably the best throw of the night, quite honestly, from Brock. So definitely got to give some credit. Yeah, and we were told Brock Purdy cannot make that throw. Maybe at one point it wasn't the easiest throw for him, but man, he has improved so much outside the numbers, and I mean, he's got it locked down. But I don't know, man, that throw to Deebo Samuel is kind of hard to parse out his impact on this offense when Deebo Samuel takes it to the house after that throw. I don't feel that way. That I'm just making fun of what film watchers are saying about our guy Brock Purdy after this game and after that touchdown throw to Deebo Samuel. I didn't think it was a bad throw. I think it was underthrown intentionally, because if you overthrew it, the safety would probably get to Deebo. If you underthrew it, there was an underneath defender. And Deebo did have to make a play. It did have to make an adjustment to make the safety miss. But that's football. Like two players connecting on a throw and a catch. Happens all the time. And I think Brock Purdy has done far more to prove that he is making an impact and a positive impact on this offense on his own, without having to parse out plays like that. So anyway, that's the end of my rant on that one. Let me give you guys another nominee here. And this one's going to be my last nominee. So I have 4 total. I'm going to go Renardo Green. Charvarius Ward did not play in this game because of his knee injury. In hindsight, like I think we can all say like we're happy that Mooney Ward did not play this game because he'd been dealing with his knee injury for a few weeks now, and I think it was impacting his performance. So I think the 49ers did the smart thing to keep Mooney Ward out of this one. And I think the 49ers also, not fortunate, but I think, for lack of a better word, fortunate that some of the other guys stepped up, including Renardo Green. He played 61 snaps outside with Mooney Ward out. Here's what he allowed to the Seattle Seahawks receivers. DK Metcalf on 3 targets only had 1 catch for 8 yards in Renardo Green's coverage. Tyler Lockett, 3 targets, 1 catch, 9 yards in Renardo Green's coverage. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 2 targets, 1 catch, 18 yards in Renardo Green's coverage. It's pretty good, right? It's pretty good. PFF had him with 11 total targets. So I don't know where that count comes from, but just here's what PFF had him on specifically. We know that PFF sometimes has different stats than others, but 11 total targets, allowed 5 catches for 57 yards total per PFF, like I said. He also had 2 pass breakups 4 tackles, 1 stop, and of course the interception. And on that pick, he didn't just undercut DK Metcalf, who is one of the better wide receivers in the league. He undercut the Seahawks' momentum. The score was 23-17 at that point. 49ers had 3 consecutive punts prior to that. And the field placement that they got from that pick helped the 49ers get some of that momentum back. So I think it was huge, not just for it being an interception. Like, yes, always getting the turnover is huge, but just the timing of it, situationally, like, it was huge. So Renardo Green, man, he joins a list of 49ers rookies that balled out in this game. Like, I really just cannot say enough about how these young players stepped up on Thursday. And so we definitely got to give credit. But let's get into some voting. I gave my nominees for 49K Player of the Week based on their performance against the Seahawks. The list is as follows: Nick Bosa, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Renardo Green. In the chat, if you'd be so kind, please vote for one of these players. And I will name 49K Player of the Week based on your guys' votes. So let's see what you guys have for me. In the meantime, as always, I'm going to give some flowers to some players. Hold on, sorry, I'm multitasking. This is a little difficult when it's just me, but all right, I'm just getting some votes in here. All right, gonna give some honorable mentions, and I kind of gave it away just now. All the 49ers rookies get an honorable mention. They're gonna get some flowers this week. I know the only one I actually nominated was Renardo Green, and I already mentioned his stats. But come on, like, how can you not appreciate what everyone did? All of these rookies did. Dominic Pooney, first of all, like, we've now gotten to the point of Dominic Pooney's dominance that we don't even mention him on a week-to-week basis. We don't even have to. We are setting our clock to Dominic Pooney being dominant. Like, this is awesome. Like, what a blessing. What a blessing that is to have an offensive lineman that you can count on, like we have been able to with Dominic Pooney. And oh yeah, he's a rookie. 0 sacks allowed. He was the 49ers' highest graded PFF player on offense in Thursday's game. Huge. And yes, it did not go unnoticed that Dominic Pooney's block, among many blocks, right, that were great in that one, but his block helped spring Garendo for that big run to pretty much help seal this game. So we gotta give some flowers to Pooney, man. He's the second best offensive lineman on this team after Trent Williams already. Like, that's I'm not even surprised to say that anymore. It's been a week in, week out kind of thing for Dominic Pooney. And we don't mention him every single week, but I got to give him his flowers as well. We also had Malik Mustafa, who, exited this game with an injury. I'll say more about that in a bit, but he was huge here as well. He had a tackle for loss. He had a pass breakup. He had an interception. It was the interception I was talking about that Nick Bosa's pressure helped get. But yeah, I mean, that was a great play from Mustafa too. And just an example of another guy that's stepping up due to injury, right? Hufanga. We might not see Hufanga for the rest of this season. We might have seen Hufanga's last game as a Niner. Like, realistically, what I've seen from Mustafa, I think, gives me some. It makes me feel better about that, because I think Mustafa is improving with each week. So I hope he's okay with his injury. Again, I'll say more about that in a bit. It sounds like it's a long ankle injury. Not sure if he'll miss time, but yeah, he looked good. He looked good. Isaac Garendo too is someone who I think is improving each week, right? Like I think he's showing better vision, a little better vision each week. And I got to give it to him on that huge run. I think he had some good vision there. He trusted his blocks, trusted the process. That's what you got to do. He had 10 carries, 99 yards. It's crazy too, because that huge run, very selfless of him to, kneel. It was the right thing to do, absolutely, at that point in time. So the 49ers can score, run out the clock in the process. But kudos to him. Kudos to him for knowing that. He said people were yelling at him on the sideline. He can hear people yelling as he was running past the sideline to get down. So he did. And he had 99 yards. He could have had 100, in this game. He could have had a touchdown in this game. But selfless moment for him. But again, like that's exactly what he was supposed to do. I got to give credit to him for springing off that run. It was super, super timely in that moment. Like the 49ers really needed to put that game away, and his run did that. So that's huge. And Tatum Bethune, didn't have a ton of time in this game or a ton of snaps in this game, but he was pretty impactful. He had a tackle, he had a fumble recovery. That's big. That's big. And Evan Anderson too, also not getting a ton of snaps, but he is part of the defensive line rotation, especially in the interior, right? They're really thin at that position. But even with the amount of snaps he's getting, that's not a lot, he's been extremely efficient in those snaps. He was the highest graded PFF defensive player for the 49ers on Thursday night. UDFA, by the way. So all the 49ers rookies that have graced the field so far have looked incredible. And I hope it just goes to show that it's all right. It's all right to play your rookies. It's okay to play your young guys because that's how they come through. That's how they're going to improve and build confidence and, make plays like they are. So I hope we see more of it. All right. Keep voting. I got a few votes for three of the four players. All right. So if you haven't voted yet for 49K Player of the Week, make sure you get a vote in. Before I give the final tally, I got someone to put on notice. You could probably guess where this is going. Brian Schneider. We got to stop mating like this, man. I feel like it's been way too many times that I've had to put your ass on notice. I hope Kyle has too. First of all, 2 kickers have gotten hurt in as many weeks because your special teams unit cannot tackle. Coverage unit is crap. Mitch Wishnowsky is 30th in net punt average on the season at 38.7 yards per punt. That's really bad. Seahawks had returns of 97 and another of 37. 49ers are 31st in special teams DVOA. That is unacceptable. If there's another special teams blunder before the bye week, I think he's gone at the bye week. Because I understand, you wouldn't want to do that, in the season, in, the middle of the week. You could. I just don't see the 49ers doing that. I just can't see Kyle doing that. But during the bye week, that would be the time to do it. I would have fired him already, personally. But I don't think Kyle will do it quite yet. But if there's another blunder, I could see him gone by the bye week. So you're on notice, Mr. Brian Schneider. Improve something. One thing on special teams. I dare you. I beg of you. Just one thing at least. Give us something, all right? Oh my God. You guys are I'm just at my wit's end with special teams. You already know where that was going. Yeah, he's been put on notice several times. 49ers throwback says he would have been fired by Andy Reid by now. Yeah, I mean, seems like maybe we just have a very high tolerance for mediocrity when it comes to special teams. I don't like that. I do not like that. But Amy, I don't know if I could be the new special teams coordinator, but I'm just throwing out suggestions of, what I'm just putting guys on notice. That's it. Definitely would not be the answer. But yeah, Tatum Bethune definitely gets his flowers, TB. All right, let's do the final countdown. Okay, 49K player of the week. That's who we're gonna give 49K player of the week to. Nick Bosa. That's incredible. I actually love that you guys see the vision. I feel like I made a good case for Nick Bosa because, like I said, he didn't have any sacks in this game, but 14 pressures, like that's big, right? You guys see the vision on that one. And then I hope you guys also understand that some of his pressures were more impactful or just as impactful as a sack would be, right? You guys see that? You guys see the vision? Okay, good. Nick Bosa, 49K player of the week for week 6 against Seattle. I like that. There will be other weeks for Purdy and Kittle, I'm sure. We got to give love to our defensive guys. We got to give love to Nick Sorensen as well. I didn't make him, or I didn't give him any flowers or anything like that, but hey, it's not too late. Nick Sorensen, you're doing a good job, buddy. Keep playing those young guys. It's working out for you. And hopefully at some point we no longer have to see Devondre Campbell or Isaac Yiadom, but we'll take at least one of those guys being benched, I guess, at this point. All right. We got through the 49K player of the week. I actually meant to leave this up on the screen for a second because we got some other updates to talk about. So we've got some injury updates to go over. Like I said, usually we don't always go through these on 49K player of the week episode, but it's not Monday. So it's Tuesday. We're a little bit further along in the week. So we have some updates. Jordan Mason, AC joint sprain, not considered serious. He is day to day. It's going to be interesting to see if the 49ers do anything to bring in any running back in, if they feel like there's a chance that he might miss, week 7 against the Chiefs. But they haven't made a move yet. So I have to imagine that they feel good about Jordan Mason's availability for Sunday. But it's early, right? It's Tuesday. I don't want to make any declarations here. Malik Mustafa, low ankle injury. 49ers signed Adrian Amos, veteran safety, 31 years old, bit of a journeyman. In his 10 seasons, he's played for Packers, Bears, and last year alone, he spent time with the Jets and Texans. Jets and Texans, similar, same defensive scheme as the 49ers, so they probably feel good about the familiarity that he has with their system. And so Amos here pretty much just as insurance, I think, for the 49ers in case Malik Mustafa can't go. And like I said, it's a low ankle injury. That's, I think, the extent of what Kyle said. Maybe low ankle sprain. I'm speculating, but that's just my thought. They don't give us too many details, and usually when they're vague, it's a little worse than what they say. So Malik Mustafa maybe just has a low ankle sprain, maybe. Again, that's just my speculation, but we'll see. In any case, Adrian Amos, veteran, they're shoring up their depth a little bit there. They're also shoring up kicker depth because, again, 2 kickers hurt last 2 weeks. Thank you, Brian Schneider. Matthew Wright suffered a dislocated shoulder against the Seahawks. The good thing was his MRI came back negative, but 49ers did sign former Packers kicker Anders Carlson to their practice squad just in case Wright is not able to go. But I think of it like this. I mean, you don't need your shoulder to kick, do you? Like, just have Matthew Wright stay away from tackling anybody. Maybe Brian Schneider have your coverage unit actually tackle guys so the kickers won't have to. And then Matthew Wright can go out there, kick some field goals, kick some kickoffs, and not risk another injury. Maybe we could do that. We'll see. In any case, Anders Carlson on the practice squad. 49ers released Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver, from their practice squad. The other piece of news, and this is a positive one, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall has been on the NFI list since he was shot in San Francisco. He had his 21-day practice window opened. You got to practice or begin practicing this week. We've got some video footage of him at practice. Dude is in good spirits. He's dancing. You love to see it for the obvious reasons, right? Like we're all just so happy that he is okay, and it just feels like a bonus that he's out there, and he's out there already, right? So just love this for Ricky. Every time that I've seen him like out of games, out of practice, you just see him there, right? But he looks like someone who's there that wants to be on the field so bad. So I'm very excited for him that he's back out on the practice field. And yeah, we'll see when he gets activated, again, 21-day practice window. So the 49ers can activate him any point between now and those 21 days. Right. So it could be before week 7. It could be, I don't know if my math is right, but to be safe, I'm just going to say before the bye, because I don't know how many days is the bye week from today. Maybe you guys are better at math than I am. But anyway, I'm just trying to say that it might not happen this week, but he will be activated within 21 days. So that is great news for the 49ers and for Ricky Pearsall and all of us who have been rooting for him and his return back onto the field. I got to tell you, like, it would be super sweet and it would be super exciting if he was out there for the Chiefs game. I just think it would be a huge boost for the team to just see him back out there. And I think the fans would love that. But we'll take any day. We'll take any day whenever he is ready. That's the most important thing. But it's great news for him. All right, so those were the injury updates. Yeah, man, Slick Rick. It's got some moves. According to Jacob Cowing, coldest white boy he's ever seen. I got to agree. Like, dude's got some drip. Amos is a free safety. Not sure, like, specifically. The 49ers don't really adhere to, like, having a specific, like, free safety, strong safety kind of thing. They kind of just do both, kind of. But I think Amos is. I'd have to double check. And let's see. All right, so a couple of other things that happened around the league. Before we get out of here, just want to make sure we talk about this as well. Devontae Adams, wide receiver for the Raiders, traded to the Jets today. We knew that was going to be happening at some point, that he would be getting traded. And the most obvious answer seemed to be to the Jets after they lost to the Bills. Yeah, that's pretty much a done deal. Speaking of the Bills, they traded for wide receiver Amari Cooper with the Browns. So moves are starting to get made. Cam Akers, running back, traded back to the Vikings. He was last with the Vikings. So he returns, traded from Houston Texans. So moves are starting to get made. The obvious question is, will the 49ers be making a move themselves? We know that history tells us that they will. Whether they do, that's still on the table. There's definitely going to be some nice options for them. And I mean, with some of the injuries, they definitely have some needs, right? So we'll wait and see what the future holds in the next couple of weeks for the 49ers. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the 49ers, the NFL trade deadline is like Halloween or something like that. It's that week, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, things are going to heat up in these next couple of weeks. We'll probably hear about more trades. In the meantime, we're going to talk about some of those trade targets that the 49ers may have. I'll be doing that with Rob tomorrow on our Way Back Wednesday show. Back with Rob. Didn't do my show with him last week, but we'll be back for that one. So make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a rating, leave a review, audio listeners. Hit that notification bell so you know when I go live. But for now, folks, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everyone in the live chat that kept it popping since I was solo dolo here. Weston, hope you're okay, buddy. We'll likely be back on Monday for our show. But for now, have a good rest of your Tuesday, folks. Peace.